I was just building in Planet Zoo when all of a sudden this happened. And to my surprise, they actually eat it. So what actually happened over here? Find out in today's video. But that shall not stay the last little festive surprise. There's also another surprise for one of you who has been chosen to give the story to the Wild Boars today. And I also decided to give some of the animals the names that you guys have on YouTube because of you supporting me so much lately. I thought, yes, let's do this. And in the real-time part later on, I'm gonna reveal who has had the chance to become a wild boar. So the story will be read out as always during the voiceover of the time-lapse, so stick with me during the entire time-lapse please, because that's the guarantee so you can find the story. And also I will tell you a bit about this habitat, because that is one of the examples where I have been absolutely in the zone. And that means I had a podcast on, I had a good drink, I had a cozy little blanket over my shoulders, and I was sitting here in my streaming room and I was just going for it. I had a very clear vision in mind of what I want to achieve, and I had a very clear target of what I wanted to do. And it turned out that this is one of my shortest recordings I did, and so I need to speed this up only by 4 times, which is comparatively slow. If I would slow down or just speed up, I should say, a live stream, for example, by 4 times, that will most likely end up in a very slow, boring episode of 7 hours. But if I'm so much in the zone and I've got already so many things prepared, it always helps tremendously to focus on building, and then, you know, you just become so quick. And also it's always the same kind of learning curve. Whenever you go into a project, the first couple of builds you do are very tricky because you need to figure out what's the style, what kind of pieces can you use, what is the color palette you want to use. So like really make sure that you have all these things properly available to you. But as soon as you have your tools together, the game or the building process becomes infinitely quicker. So this habitat over here is almost as great, if not greater, than the Sloth Bear habitat, but it took not even a quarter of the time, which is very surprising if you hear that. But if you know how this kind of, you know, evolution goes in a project like that, it is pretty normal. And I am also looking forward to going back to Zoo Sicily, because I lately had the feeling that I lost my mojo in there a little bit because I was too much in the zone, and like without actually having anything to look left and right to. And I really need to again to make Sicily even better than it already is. I'm still very aware of the fact that Zoo Sicily might be my best project to date in Planet Zoo, but I mean, it's always arguably. But it's at the end of the day, there are so many things in there that we did that I'm still very proud of. And, you know, Hirscheck is now catching up a little, I gotta say, because of its ingenuity in terms of making something different than a zoo. But one thing that is definitely lacking in Zoo Sicily is the storytelling aspect, which is a lot better in here. And I love the fact that you guys give me all the stories. And so here's me to read out the story today in a couple of seconds. Because before I read this story out, I want to talk about this boar habitat in general. Now, I had a very clear vision in mind for the simple reason that a boar habitat might actually be the habitat or the area for animals I have been to the most in my entire life. The reason for that is also very simple. It's super close to me. Like in our region, there are so many wildlife reserves that house wild boars, and as they are called wild boars, they're even living in our forests around here. Like not as common as in other regions of Europe, but it definitely, there's a big chance that you will see them in the wild, and I've already seen quite some in the wild. I've only seen 1 red deer though, or 2 maybe, if you count the second one, which was super far away, but I've just only seen 1 wild red deer, which is not really that often, but wild boars is a lot more common. But the habitat itself is heavily inspired by the, well, 3 or 4 go-to wildlife reserves we have over here. So we do actually have one here in the region where I'm living. So this is like a couple of minutes walking towards me. And also there is the one in Grafenberg in Düsseldorf, and there are some in Krefeld nearby and some in Mönchengladbach. So for those of you who want to check out the region I'm living, I now gave you a bit of an idea to where I'm living, but I'm not really telling you exactly which one is super close to me. That would be a little bit too close, I guess. But yeah, this is why I have always inspiration of these things. And so I wanted to keep the simplicity of those habitats, but make it like as detailed as possibly possible with the in-game pieces. And also, you know, as we already sacrificed the FPS with the Tarkin, they've been taking the FPS already. I was like, you know what, now it's gone anyways, let's go for it. But I have to say, it's surprising that it now stayed relatively stable. It depends a little bit on where you look. I think all the trees and stuff also do a good job of hiding certain areas, and working a little bit more with the incline of the terrain gives me a bit more control over the FPS. However, you waited long enough. Let's read out the story, and then we also need to talk about the festive surprise that you've seen at the beginning. What is this all about, you know? But let's read out the story now. A hunter in Spain, a lover of nature but not at all responsible, kept a pair of wild boars as pets. One day he forgot to lock the door to his property, and the wild boars, who are very intelligent, escaped. They caused a minor damage around the town and scared the neighbors, so Seprona, the Spanish police service for nature protection, was called. The wild boars were sedated and confiscated. As in Spain, there is a huge problem of overpopulation of wild boars, and these were also accustomed to human care, so they couldn't be released into the wild. They were going to be sacrificed. A group of people did not agree with this decision, so they looked all over Spain for a zoo or reserve that would welcome them, but they didn't find any. It was when they looked for another European center country when they found a center called Hirscheck, a reserve located in Germany that housed animals from the Black Forest and that was recently expanding and housing animals rescued from other areas of Eurasia. The wildlife reserve promised to welcome them in their new habitat. And this one was from Elio Archive, and big thanks to you, Elio Archive. I really love that story. I didn't change a thing, and I like it. The only thing I will say is that this was potentially one of the first rescue missions that Hirscheck did, because we will have a bigger population in this than only 2, and hence we kind of need to, you know, continue the story so that we did already have some babies, and they also grew up already, and now we have a lot more wild boars from the 2 Spanish pairs we got at the beginning, from the Spanish couple. So really, 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 really happy with this story, and there is kind of a story arch forming right now, and I like the fact how much you all kind of build the stories around that people found Hirscheck. So what I'm envisioning is that Hirscheck season 2 is basically the story of a huge campaign that Hirscheck is running. So my idea is that let's just imagine Hirscheck receive the rights to expand the reserve, and the only reason for that was that they guaranteed to house rescued species, or that they are willing to house rescued species. And once they agreed to that, they basically formed a campaign where they would basically showcase on websites, on social media, and so on, that, you know, Hirscheck is willing to house rescued animals from all over Eurasia. And that's the main reason why there was a chance for people to basically find Hirscheck in the first place, because it's like a small German reserve. Why would you know of it? But this way it would all make sense. Speaking of it all makes sense, look what is happening right now. This time around, my approach to the habitat was a bit of a different one. I wanted to use more of the enrichment pieces to really have a habitat filled with enrichment pieces, and I decided to go for the foraging box and the mud box. And just to make sure that everything looks super aligned, I used the mud pieces or the mulch pieces, I should say, the mulch, to form a lot more of a darker ground. I really like, you know, we are talking wild boars over here. You know, they are basically shoveling the whole ground. After a year or 2, the habitat will not have that much grass left in them. So that is the reason why I went for like making sure everything is super overgrown in terms of leaves and stuff, and the only greenery you have is either like a big bush or a higher up tree, and the rest is a lot more mulchy and muddy. And since the enrichment pieces have unfortunately a very different mud tone than the actual mud texture of the game, or I should say the dirt texture, I needed to find a way of combining them, and I figured the mulch pieces are pretty nice. There's also another version how you could do this, and there are these flower bed pieces. If you rotate them 180 degrees, the lower side of it looks even better. It almost looks like the proper mulch and stuff. However, or like bark, it almost looks like the bark pieces. The problem of that is you cannot really align them nicely with the ground because you have to rotate them, and then the align to ground doesn't work anymore. And for a habitat like this, which also has a lot of little inclines, you know, it's not a flat ground. There are like little bumps and you know, just to make it all look a lot more interesting. And to cover this properly, you definitely have to use the align to ground function. But you can really tell now how it's coming together, and I feel like this looks super good. It's one of my most realistic looking habitats I've done, and I'm really proud of it. But you will see more about this now in the real-time part, but you will also see how this festive little surprise for our wild boars came into place. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really enjoyed that one, and I hope you guys have fun now with our beloved real-time Rudy, the RRR. Alright, I'm really not sure if you guys are ready for that, because this is what we are looking at is now really a lot too good. So this area is still where you can go up to the two habitats and just like to the shelters. From here to the left hand side, you can still see the inside for a Sloth Bear. There you go. You've got the two shelters, which are not fully done yet. There are a couple of little things, same goes for the center. But to the right hand side, you can already tell there's a tiny little gap in which you can have a look into the boar habitat. But there's really not that much to see. You can see some individuals here down there moving around. But now if we go down, you have to pee. I can see you. As we go down, you will see how beautiful this habitat turned out, and you will also potentially spot some commandeers in here. I put some female commandeers in here just for the mix, you know. I thought maybe these are individuals that couldn't go together with the other ones, and then they have found their luck in here. And I mean, just witness this. See, my computer was so surprised that it stopped recording my voice at this point. So I'm speaking this as a past Rudy over the actual real-time part. But you never know, I have to do it that way because the recording was just too good. As you can see, there's a little wild boar scrubbing itself there on the tree. We have our color morph of one of the commandeers coming into the scene, and there are some other things happening in a second that were just too good. But before, let's have a look at this special kids area over here, because if you know these parks, you know that there's always a kids area where they can give Treatos to the wild boars and all the other animals, and this is the very space. I imagine my little one running here and then throwing all the Treatos at once at one of the lucky wild boars that is first. This will be the one who is going to have the best day ever, because she's not waiting for the other one. She's like stuffing this all into the first animal she can reach. So yeah, the lucky one will be fed by her. But yeah, this is that area, and we will also provide them with a little dispenser here in the future. I have some designs already tested. Not too happy right now. I will do another one. But yeah, moving over to just change the lighting a little and also stepping into another area, you can see this is where the Treatos are. And now I will reveal, obviously, the secret of it, while you can see some wild boars running there in the back. Well, they didn't appear all of a sudden, as you can imagine. I had this idea right when I finished recording, and I was like, how about putting some Treatos down, but how can we make them feed on it? So my first idea was to throw that all over the actual feeder, but that looked kind of shabby, to be honest. So I had another idea, and I was looking around to find a solution for that, and this solution came in the form of an enrichment item. And the enrichment item I was talking about is the herb scent enrichment item. It's a very simple one, a very original one, and you can just move it in underneath the thing, just click it there, and all of a sudden animals will start going here and do their little scent animation. If you don't know what that is, they basically go down and have a little sniff on it, and if you put that in a clever position, it'll look exactly as if they were eating these things, and the more you put down there, the more they will go here. Don't overdo it though. I have two beneath this one. And you can obviously just copy that into another place and make them go there. Anyways, I am just ridiculously happy how this all turned out. Sometimes these habitats, they don't need to be super incredible. You don't need that many weird buildings. Sometimes it's enough to just make it look super realistic. And one thing I also found very good is using more of the sapling pieces to throw them between. I think this looks really cool, while this one is just sleeping in the mud over here. So yeah, I'm just happy, and I'm also happy that I threw the common deer. As you can see, there is one already there. As you can see, I just put it here, and all of a sudden it's going there. Look, that's so cool. It just had its snout put down. We just missed it briefly, but also I must say, Frontier did a very good job in the traversable area for the wild boar. But anyways, now back to the actual real-time voice. Right, so let's have a look at the names. Here we have everyone in habitat number 15 are basically named after you guys or after the story. So our OGs is basically Jose and Anna. Those two were the ones we rescued. Don't look at the years, it just doesn't work. But as for what we did, we have now a couple of names in the comments of you guys, and I couldn't be more happy, and maybe you guys find yourself now. I didn't take the last names. I tried to only use the the first names, and you will see yourself, I assume. But we've got Xen, we've got Alisa, we've got Mara, we've got Lemon, Lieselotte, and Abigail. So yeah, congrats. You made it into the game without even asking for it. So this is that, and let's end this episode with a final look into the habitat. And yeah, as I said, I don't even know what to say. I think this is one of my best realistic habitats I've ever done. I know there is not really that much around, you know. I can't really say too much because it is a wildlife reserve habitat. It's not like super styled. There's not a huge design around it. There's not really a lot going on, but this is basically how it is. But if you want to learn, by the way, how to do these things and how to come up with ideas to make a habitat, I highly recommend to watch my expert tips tutorial I once did. I will link it now to the top screen, to the top right for you guys, so you can click on that and check out how you can also build like that and get more detailed. So I highly recommend doing this if you want to build like that. And, well, have a good time. Thank you so much for watching. And I talk to you in the next one. Oh, by the way, if you want to leave a like for the video, that would be appreciated. Now, again, if you want to build like that, top right card is going to be for you, a tutorial, an expert tutorial, how you build more detailed and stuff. So enjoy that one. Have a good time. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.